Click here. You completed less than one tax year. Now we're just going to go ahead and again, you do the Excel spreadsheet first. It'll make it a lot easier to complete all of this if you do that spreadsheet first. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again. Today, we are going to finish the statement of revenues and expenses. My name is Beatrice Adams, and of course, my channel is Your Story is Your Mission. And I thank you so much for tuning in with me and hanging in here with me as we work through this Form 1023 application. Now, I just wanted to show you something. I am at pay.gov. This is, of course, the site that you will need to log into when you're ready to submit your Form 1023 application. Here we are. I just wanted to show this to you. Now, those of you who have been following me, you know that I like to really be as detailed as I can. For those of you who may not, be as technical, and I know this is kind of simple, but I just want to give kudos to the IRS people. They actually put the sign in up here and they put the search bar up here. It used to be that the sign in was you had to, it was over here. You had to click a drop down and then it would drop down and it would list where you could sign in, and then you could also search within that drop down, which was a little confusing because we're so used to seeing everything up here at the top. So I just wanted to point that out. Kudos to the IRS for that. And those of you who do not know how to get signed into pay.gov, you do need to create an account. In this case, I, of course, already have one. So I'm going to go ahead and get signed in and I'll show you that. So I just did click that. Here you would create your account here if you have not done so. And this is the only way you'll be able to submit your Form 1023 application. Again, they do not accept paper applications anymore. So this is what you'll have to do. So I am going to go ahead and get signed in. And they do have a extra layer of security protection for us. So you will have to create a ID.me account or a login.gov account if you have not, again, done so already. Just humor me. Again, this is for people who have not done so. And again, just in case they may not exactly know how to go through this process, I know a lot of you do, but let's just make sure that anyone who needs that extra help gets what they need. So I'm going to click in with ID.me because that's where I set up my account. And let's go ahead and get my password in here. And I am going to ask it to text me a code. And again, I've already got all of this information set up. And that's what you'll have to do when you go to create your account. So let me get that password, excuse me, the code that it just sent to me in here. And then that way I'll be able to proceed. Now, if you have already created your account and you've already started with the Form 1023 because you're about to submit it, you should see something like this. Go to my account. And so I'm going to click on that. And I will then, and this is how you will do each time, you will go to my forms. You won't do any of this unless, of course, you want to change your profile information or what have you. But you will click on my forms, and then you will go here. You will have, these will be the saved. That's where I want to go, to the saved. All right, so here I am at the Pretty Paws Foundation Inc. Form 1023, and I will just go here and click continue where you left off. All right, and so here we are at part 6, financial data. Now this is the section where I'm actually going to show you how to complete the form that is actually a part of the application. Now I'm going to show you this. Just bring that over here. Keep in mind that we have to, oops, we have to cross-reference this, right? So I want to show you something here. It says gifts, grants, and contributions received. All right, and do not include unusual grants. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of type in here and then I'll bring over the Excel spreadsheet, because remember, the Excel spreadsheet is an itemized list of what we're putting here, because see, you'll only be able to put totals here, but we want to upload an itemized list so that the IRS will see detailed items line by line as to how we came to these numbers. And not only that, it's going to help you whenever you get ready to do your budget for the year or what have you. You're going to be able to cross-reference your statement of revenues and say, hey, oh, I see here we are supposed to be getting $10,000 in grants. That's what we have projected. So with that budget, it's going to help direct you as far as setting your goals for the year, if that makes any sense. If it does, please give me a thumbs up in the comments. So I'll pull this over here just a moment. I won't be able to do both of them at the same time, but see the current year tax year here. We're just going to put this information that we already have in our Excel spreadsheet. We're just going to transfer it here. And all right, I hope that makes sense. But okay, so here we are again. We've already said clicked here, you completed less than one tax year. Again, if you have completed at least one tax year but fewer than five, be sure to answer these questions accordingly. But recall Pretty Paws Foundation, a made up foundation, is just in its first year. I know this, I've been showing you this for a little while now. So, so we're going to ignore the bylaws that maybe said it was established in July of 2023. I've been doing this for a moment, trying to get to through this form, showing you all how to do that. But I just want to stick with Pretty Paws Foundation being a brand new nonprofit. It has not been in existence but one tax year. So we're going to pretend that I just started showing you this and that it is 2024 when it incorporated. Again, this is just for your benefit, right? So click here. You completed less than one tax year. Now we're just going to go ahead and again, you do the Excel spreadsheet first. It'll make it a lot easier to complete all of this if you do that spreadsheet first. It doesn't have to be Excel. It could be Google Sheets, or you could just type it in a Word document and add up the numbers manually, whatever the case is. This is just what I use. I use Excel because, I can put my formulas in and everything is much easier for me. All right, so the current year projections will be January 1 of 2024, and that will go to 12/31 of 2024. Let's make sure I got that right. January 1, 2024, 12/31, 2024. Then the future projections would be January 1 of 2025 to 12/31 of 2025. And then for that third year, January 1 of 2026 through 12/31 of 2026. Okay, because if you completed that one, you're just completing less than that one tax year. You only have to provide, see, it says provide a total of 3 years. I know I covered this in the previous video, but I just want to say it again. Provide a total of 3 years of financial information, including the current year and 2 future years of reasonable and good faith projections. Remember, I said the IRS is okay with guesstimations or estimations. I call them guesstimations because really, that's really what you're doing. Remember, but your guesstimations are based off of actual numbers that in my previous videos, I've shown you how to research and find a nonprofit that is close to yours and look at their budget. So that's what we're going with. current year. Doesn't matter for some of you that, let's just say you started your nonprofit in 2023 and you're just starting this process. You're not going to pull in numbers from 2023. You're going to base these numbers off of 2023 because you have actual numbers, right? But this is always going to be the current tax year, and we're in 2024. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So there we are with that. Now, I'm going to stop right here because I am now going to pull over my spreadsheet and I'm going to actually reference my spreadsheet from here. But what I'll be doing, you won't actually see this form just yet, but I actually printed out a PDF because I like to print my stuff out so I can mark out on it or whatever I need to do. But so I'll be saying the same thing that's here, but I want to show you more so first of how I have it in the actual statement of revenues and expenses on my Excel spreadsheet. And now, cash on hand. I always put something here because most people would probably have $500 on hand. That's just a guesstimate. You may not have $500, put what you have, but cash on hand for the nonprofit, I always kind of like to put $500 for my clients, unless I know, for instance, that they are going to be paying a salary in that year. And if that's the case, they need to have some cash on hand to be able to pay those salaries. But in this case, no salary. So we're going to start with cash on hand at $500 for the current tax year. And now these projections, they're future projections. These are based off of, as you can see, my right up here. You see that? You can see I put in a formula there. I base those formulas off of actual numbers that I found. I didn't find that formula, but I just kind of looked at how their numbers for their current tax year versus their previous year. I looked at the difference in those numbers, if that makes any sense, and I was able to come up with um, a formula that I thought provided really good projections. Now, you may want to say, I want my cash on hand to double. And, if that's the case, then you just go change that formula or you put your formula in. So you expect that that cash on hand is going to double. And you can do that going all the way down. But I like to keep my numbers really, I don't like to go too out there with my numbers. Again, if you happen to double the cash on hand, double grant income, governmental grant income, what have you, then absolutely you're going to have to report it anyway on the Form 990 whenever you report your annual information to the IRS. You're going to have to let them know your exact numbers. But in this case, again, these are projections. So that's what we're going with. So I want to keep them on the low end. So that's just me, and that's what's worked for me. So there we go. So now we're going to stop. I'm not going to go over this just yet. I want to show you something. So I guesstimated grant income governmental for the year would be $10,000. I Googled and I said typical amount of governmental grants for nonprofits. That's what I wanted to know. And it told me that the median total award size for government grants to nonprofits in 2023 varied by the size of the organization, with larger organizations receiving larger awards. Of course, if you're a larger organization, you're going to get a larger reward. However, it tells me here that small organizations, the median total award was $14,500. So that's how I was able to confidently put 10,000 here. I didn't want to say 14,500. I just kind of wanted, again, I like to keep my numbers on the low end for a new nonprofit. So that's what I did there. And then for non-governmental grant incomes, remember I I said that that would be like the Walmart Foundation if you got a community grant from them. It says the median largest award size for government grants. We got that. That's for a large organization, right? But it says the median largest award from community foundations. That would be a non-governmental grant. It was $20,000. So that's why I felt confident here to just put 15,000. Again, I don't want to put 20,000, but I just put 15,000. Individual contributions, from my past experience with starting and running a nonprofit with my friends, 5,000 was pretty much on point. So I went with that. Fundraising income, 4,500. These are guesstimates. Special event income, $3,000. They're guesstimates, but they're based on actual numbers that I found for a nonprofit. And this was just a general budget. This wasn't one that, like the ASPCA, that actually, you know, is similar to the mission of Pretty Paws Foundation. These were just a budget that I found, basic budget. And again, their numbers were probably higher, but I went in lower because I felt more comfortable with that. In-kind donations, laptops, tablets. I just said, hey, maybe we'll get 3 laptops donated. They're used. They're probably, market value, street value, I would say $3,100. And then we talked about the pet clothing donation, someone donating $2,000 worth of clothing for the pets, and then the interest income. If you do have a checking account that earns interest, then that, just on the low end, it could be more than that, but I just went with $25. So you can see the total revenues of $43,125. Now, these numbers, you all, I just want to point out, guesstimates. They are, again, certain of these numbers are based on an actual budget. But look at the other videos, part 1 and part 2, and I'll just have a better description of how I came up with these, right? Now, salaries. We have I said that we weren't going to be actually paying a salary, and payroll taxes. Remember in the previous video, I talked about that. I won't go into all of this again. Contract labor, say someone's coming out, cut the grass. I don't know. Just whatever the case may be. CPA expense, maybe you needed to go and consult with one because this expense could be higher. Again, don't knock me on these numbers because these are just guesstimates on the very, very low end. Again, CPA, you may have just wanted to consult, or maybe they just wanted to file your taxes. I don't know what they charge, but if you have a more accurate number of what you think it would charge in your area, definitely go for that. But that's more in line with my area. Professional administrative, I just put $200 there. Again, you go for what you feel you should do. Now, this is the part I want to show you here. Of course, last video, I talked about this. Subsidies for surgeries, and this is where these numbers came from. It came from the ASPCA's budget. Now, these were just estimates on this too. It wasn't an actual set in stone number, but these were just estimates from the ASPCA. And I always just want to point out one thing. Like my sister told me, she said, she was like, girl, those surgeries cost more than $80 or $70. Let me tell you, because she's got 2 little chihuahuas, female chihuahuas, and she's had to have surgeries. And she's like, for one, it was $400. And I just kind of had to point out to her, and I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. But someone like the ASPCA, who is a 501c3 tax exempt organization, and they would, first of all, get a discount from the veterinarian. And also, imagine if you could tell maybe 3 or 4 vets. I don't know how many they use, but imagine that you could tell them in our budget, we estimate that we will have 900 based on our previous numbers, right? That we will have 900 female dogs that will need surgery. Um, 850 male dogs that will need surgery. Now, I know, and I'm a tax exempt organization. So I know if I were a vet, I would definitely give a discount to someone that could guarantee me that they would be bringing this many animals in for surgery. Again, they probably use more than one vet, but I would imagine again that they would definitely give them a discount. So they would not pay the number or the average cost for surgery that someone walking in off the street would pay. And that's the benefit of being a tax exempt organization. You're going to, number one, they're telling them, I'm going to be sending you this many people, this many animals for surgery. And then they're a tax exempt organization. So anything that the vet gives as an in kind service or what have you, or any discounts they give them, I would imagine they could write that off on their taxes. Again, that's one of the benefits of being a tax exempt organization. Anyone who donates any type of service to you or any building or what have you, they can write that off on their taxes, right? So we don't expect that the ASPCA would pay $400 for one surgery when they have 900 animals that they will be sending over. So I just wanted to pull that over, point that out because she got me on that one. she got me. She's like, But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Now, so we've talked about these numbers, and I talked to you and told you that if you are going to be doing anything, whatever you say you're going to do, make sure it is itemized in your statement of revenues and expenses. Don't say that I am Pretty Paws Foundation and we're going to subsidize costs for inner city, uh, pet owners, what have you, and don't put any subsidy information or numbers in your statement of revenues. So there we go. Again, not going to go through each and every one of these. You can see these, right? These are just basic expenses. So what I want to point out, we've got $33,349 in total expenses for the current tax year. We need that number in total revenues to be more, and it is. So I am going to say 43,125 minus 33,349. So that gives us a surplus of 9,776. Now, for that first year, the total revenues 43,125. And for the second year, 2025, 64,714. And then 70,695 for that third year. And just showing you there. Oops, I think it's getting ready to log me out. Bear with me just a moment. So what I did was I did not have to break that down because remember, that's what our statement of revenues Excel and expenses Excel sheet is going to do for the IRS. It's going to break down these numbers. So what I'm doing, they wanted to know what your gifts, grants, and contributions received were. Okay, so I just put the total revenue because I left in here cash on hand. I left that in that number. The surplus, I left that in these numbers. Then all the grants, special event income, fundraising income, so on and so forth. I left that in that number. Okay. And then let's see here. Membership fees received, 0. Gross investment income, I wish, but none. Net unrelated income, that would be 0. All right. And that net unrelated income, you definitely don't want to put that in there. And so that's basically the unrelated business income, or UBI. It's like income that you receive from a business, or, that's not substantially related to your nonprofit's exempt purpose, right? Even if the money is used to support the mission, it's still unrelated business income. For example, say ASPCA, say nonprofit animal shelter, right? That they're selling pet toys. Our Pretty Paws Foundation is selling pet toys, right? So we're selling pet toys to generate, but it generates unrelated business income, because the pet toys, I mean, for, let's just say, an animal shelter, they're probably not going to have pet toys, but they could. But they're actually trying to generate income, and those sales are not directly related to the animal shelter's primary mission. If that makes any sense at all. But that's what unrelated business income is. And if you put that in there, I mean, you must disclose the application in the application whether it expects to generate unrelated business income. And in this case, we're going to say no, because I will tell you that if you put that in there, the IRS is going to really take you through it to get to see if you're going to be approved. I mean, they are really going to take you through it, because what is that's doing? Um, I don't even know how to say it. I had to do this with one client, and it was quite difficult to get approved, but I did manage to get all of the numbers into the IRS, um, so that they actually approved it, right? Because they're going to scrutinize unrelated business income very, very much. Because if a significant portion of your revenue or your operations comes from UBI, I mean, they're gonna audit. That's pretty much what we had to do. They're gonna conduct an audit. There's a audit, a thorough look at whether they're going to approve you, because they're just trying to determine if the nonprofit is still operating primarily for exempt purposes. And so, anyway, I don't know if I have to go any further into that, but I will tell you that that is part of what's called the commerciality doctrine. I did have a viewer whenever I first started my channel. He mentioned that that would be something that you all definitely need to know. And I'm hoping to maybe pull in an attorney to maybe one of their videos. I did see someone who spoke on that more in detail, and I just think that, they would be better off, talking to you about that, because the IRS, again, they're going to evaluate whether the nonprofit's primary purpose is still charitable, educational, or what have you. If business activities dominate the nonprofit's operations, business activities, not for profit, I mean, not nonprofit, for profit. If your for-profit business activities dominate the nonprofit's operations, it may be at risk, like of them saying no. I'm just not going to do it. We're not going to approve you. So anyway, the commerciality doctrine, that's what that is. It is there. It's set in place to ensure that, a nonprofit's primary focus remains on its mission, not business activity. So we can appreciate that, right? So anyway, let's move on. Taxes levied for your benefit. That would be zero, unless you have you have a building already, in the case of a church, and you've already set it up with the city to not pay taxes on that property, on your church or land that maybe even it owns. Then that would be taxes levied for your benefit. So say you don't have to pay $2,000. They waive that because of your status again, or what have you. I know with our foundation, we didn't have to pay taxes on the cemetery. I mean, we went into the tax office and we were officially a 501(c)(3), and we asked them to waive those charges, and they did. All right, value of services or facilities furnished by a governmental unit without charge. That would be zero. It'd be great though if the city, your local government actually, had a vacant building that they um, either gave to you or let you rent for little of nothing, or without charge in this case. If that were the case, you would put that information there. That would be the value of services or the value of that facility that the local government provided. But in your case, it's going to be a zero because you're new. Again, it's going to be a zero. Maybe it may change in the second year if if that's what you want, but we're going to stick with zero. So any revenue not otherwise listed above or in lines 9 through 12 was a zero. All right. So one thing I want to point out as we go through this is you definitely need to also, this is kind of off topic of the Form 1023, but you definitely need to put in place a business plan. You're a nonprofit, but you're a business. You're a nonprofit business, and you must have a business plan in place in order to know where you're going and how you're going to get there, right? Because you need to do a market analysis, right? Yeah, I mean, you need to analyze the demographic, like in Pretty Paws Foundation's case, the inner city low income pet owners that it's wanting to help subsidize the care for. Pretty Paws Foundation would need to do a market analysis of that audience, right? And outline like their needs regarding pet care, affordability, like can they afford it, and education, right? And market and outreach, fundraising strategy, financial plan, like all of these things need to be in your business plan. Risk management, like you need to identify potential risks, like if there's funding shortages. We know that that is guaranteed to happen. Funding shortages. Um, how are you going to mitigate that? What strategy are you going to use to mitigate that? So definitely get a business plan in place if you have not done so. I will try to do a video on that. I say that and then it takes me forever, but we'll talk about that because you need to have a business plan in place. All of these numbers and stuff is going to tell you how you're gonna do this. All of this. How are you going to do this? All right. So fundraising expenses. Now I'm going to jump off the screen just for a moment because I'm going to put these numbers in here because these numbers are going to kind of I have to tally. I have to tally, right? This is the reason why. See, occupancy. They have occupancy, but they have rent and utilities in the same section, and I have itemized those numbers. All right, so we are just about to finish this part. But so with the total expenses, we've got 15,000 here. With my Excel spreadsheet, we have 33,349. So what I did was I took the total fundraising expenses, which would be the fundraising and special event numbers. No contributions paid out, no disbursements on behalf of members, no compensation in the first year, no other salaries, interest expense, so on and so forth. Occupancy, I totaled rent and utilities there together, no depreciation and depletion. Professional fees, I added what were they? The CPA expense and the professional and administrative expenses together. And that's how I came up with those numbers. So now what we have to do is we have a total of $15,000. Whoops. We have a total of $15,000 I need this number. So this is any expense not otherwise classified, such as program services. Provide an itemized list below. Now, that's the main reason you want to upload your Excel spreadsheet or whatever you use to itemize these numbers because the IRS wants to see it. Anything that's not otherwise classified, they want you to provide that itemized list. All right. So what I'm going to do now is take the $15,000 in expenses that I have recorded. I'm going to subtract that from 33,349 or the opposite, whichever. I really should have done 33,349. Subtract that 15,000. That tells me the number that I need to put here, which is 18,349. And that matches this 33,349. That matches my total expenses. And I know you can't see me looking at my Excel spreadsheet, but that's what I am looking at. All right, to get those numbers. And so here we have, excuse me, 35,750. So what I'm going to do is subtract. Where's that darn? Trying to get my calculator over here. So I want to take 35,750. I'm kind of doing that backwards. 59,056, which is my total revenue, and I'm going to subtract 35,750 from it. So this 23,306 is what needs to go here. All right, and so that actually matches. This number needs to exactly match my total expenses on my spreadsheet. So that's 59,056, and that is what I have. So the last column, I'm going to take, I have total expenses on my spreadsheet of 70,000. This is for the third year, 695. And I want to subtract 41,011 from it. So that 29,684 is what needs to go there. So now these numbers match. All of these numbers, these total expenses should match what you have on in your spreadsheet. Total revenue should also match. Okay, what you have. And then that way you know they're not going to call you on it. Those numbers have to match. So that's it for that. Now right here, we want to add something here. Okay, so right here, we want to add under number 25, itemized financial data. We want to just say, see uploaded statement of revenues and expenses report for itemizations. And I add this because I know about my formula. So I say note sum totals may differ up to $4 due to the rounding formula used in Excel spreadsheet. Now that's just what I add on there for them. So see uploaded statement of revenues and expenses report for itemizations. Note some totals may differ up to $4 due to the rounding formula used in Excel spreadsheet. Always read over, make sure everything is right, that I didn't make any typos or anything. And in this case, these numbers are spot on, but I do like to add that just in case. And we will click next. And that's it for that financial statement section. I will go over this in just another video because I want to show you something else that I found with when I was searching for a budget. And so I want to show you how, again, if you keep digging in there, you can find budgets and information that you're looking for. So I was actually able to find the ASPCA's financial statements. All I did was I just Googled, what did I put in? I just put ASPCA budget. So I Googled that, and this is what came up for 2022. This is the most recent one that they have online. This is their audited financial statements, right? And you can see that that was reported on Form 990. Now, the difference between, if you don't know, the difference between an audited financial statement and an unaudited financial statement is the audited one is one that you really want to go by. That's the one that they would have had a third party. They would have pulled in an accounting firm to actually audit the financial statements that were prepared by their accounting department. And that's the real deal there. The unaudited financial statements are the ones that the accounting department would have done, and they would have compiled all the numbers into a financial statement. But you always want to look at the audited financial statements. And so when I did that, you can see I just thought it was very interesting. Of course, they reported this on Form 990. Yes, they need to. That's the return of organization exempt from income tax. And this is, again, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And again, just to show you that you can actually find what you're looking for when you're trying to do the budget. But knowing that you are a brand new nonprofit, we know that it would be lovely for Pretty Paws Foundation to get $351,000 in contributions and grants. That's the prior year. Current year, 338,000. Excuse me. That would be great, but we know that that's someone that's been doing it for a long time. That's a large organization. So that's why, again, I just wanted to point to how you can find your numbers and how you want to pare down your numbers for a new nonprofit. Because here, see, they even have investment income of $10,000 for 2022. They have other revenue, excuse me, I'm looking at these numbers wrong. Lordy, I'm so sorry. The current year is $338 million in contributions and grants. That's a big difference from 338,000. When I was saying that, I was like, that doesn't sound right. But yeah, $338 million in contributions and grants for the first year. And their program service revenue is 21 million. Then they have investment income of 10 million. And then of other revenue, look at that total revenue for 2022, $376 million for their current year. $376 million. And this would be 2022 because that would be what they're reporting on. They have salaries, $132 million in salaries, that's hey, we all strive to get there because they've got a lot of people to pay. It's ASPCA. You've seen the commercials; they're all over the place. So professional fundraising fees, all of this. But I looked at this because again, it just further verifies that my numbers needed to be really, really on the low end because Pretty Paws Foundation has not reached this level of nonprofit success yet because it's just starting out the gate, right? So they've got total expenses of $340 million. And this is what they want to see, and this is what I was pointing to. You want your revenues to be more than your expenses. So revenues less expenses, they have $36 million left over to carry them into the next year so they can continue to be successful while they wait on all of those, the grant funding and contributions and so on and so forth from people. So this is a very extensive 990. Again, it is the ASPCA. They've got 113 pages. You will probably do the 990 easy the first year, if not the 990 postcard. But hey, strive for this, okay? And I thank you so much. The next video, it will be going over the balance sheet. And let me just show you that. It will be this balance sheet. We'll be going over that. It'll be a quick video. I want to show you how to tie those numbers in along with the Excel spreadsheet that we did. This is very simple. You won't be completing all of this, okay? So I will get to that in the next video and stay tuned.